This is Sweet 16, where we watch the sweetest 16 minutes of gameplay and chat about what we're seeing. I'm Rad, and joining me from the ABC Gamer team is Dan.
Hello.
And Joe.
Hello.
Alright, so today we're looking at Weird West. Kick it off, Dan.
Yeah, I got a lot of gameplay. I've actually got close to 16 minutes for the first time, I think, ever since we've been doing this. So, it's a brave new world.
So what is Weird West? I actually haven't heard anything about it.
So, it's a isometric action RPG from Raf Colantonio, whose name you might remember from Arcane. He was a studio director at Arcane. Left after making Dishonored 2, decided to start his own studio, and this is the first game that has come out from his new indie studio.
This looks cool. It reminds me a little bit of Nation Red. Did you ever play that one?
I never played Nation Red, but did anyone play Hard West? It was like a turn-based strategy XCOM Western. Very similar. Very, very similar.
But this is real time, isn't it?
This is all real-time combat. So it's the closest I think you could compare it to is something like Fallout 1 or Fallout 2 with real-time combat. So, and the combat is quite good. It's kind of like twin-stick shootery meets Dishonored style supernatural abilities that you can do all kinds of stuff. So,
see, I'm getting kind of like dungeon crawler Diablo vibes from this as well, though.
Which is, yeah, so there's a lot of randomization to it as well. I've played it for about 6 hours at this point. So we're in the first act. Your character is basically this unknown druid-esque character who possesses people throughout the Wild West. And I'm currently inhabiting the body of a bounty hunter whose husband was kidnapped as cattle to be fed to some sirens. And I'm trying to track down my husband, and all of my sleuthing has led me here. What's super cool about it is there's no one way to find any information. The game is they've said you can literally kill every single key story character, and you'll still be able to progress the story. So there's just so many ways to figure this out.
Right. So
yeah.
Wait, are you supposed to inhibit this particular person? Because it sounded a little bit like you can just jump into anybody.
So no, so it's not fully random like that. You are given main characters with a quest, and there's a story to be told, but how you go about figuring it out is much more open than any of these sort of immersive sim RPG games I've played before. Way more involved than Dishonored.
So how do you finish a story if you've killed everyone in the story?
That's a very good question, because what we're seeing here is basically what happened was I got to this town, and I know I need to get into the bank, right? Which is this building where they're holding someone who has information about where my husband might be. I decided to talk to the innkeeper, and she was like, "Oh, you look like you're from out of town. You should order a whiskey." And I ordered a whiskey, and she gave me a note and was like, "I've left something in a tree that could help you." Turned out to be this poison draft that I'm going to use to try to get into the bank by knocking out the guard. What I found out after I'd recorded all of this, you can just talk to someone else, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw your husband going that way. Can I have $5?" And you can just not give her $5 or give her $5. If you just spend your time walking around and talking to people or digging up graves, or even sometimes random stuff will happen out in the world as you're traveling between spaces that gives you a little bit more information.
Does that make it feel a bit broken though? Because that almost feels like nothing that you do matters, you know?
Well, I guess it's what you do matters, because there are repercussions for your actions. So if you do kill everyone, it doesn't mean the game is then easier because there's no more enemies. It would be harder because there's these things called vendettas. There's people will come and hunt you down for revenge. If you kill a whole family, more of their family will just keep coming after you. Same with gangs. You'll get a bad name. There's a morality system.
How
in this.
many people can be in a single family?
I have no idea. I'm kind of tempted to play this the way I always play these games, which is really nice all the way through, and playing through the story and doing the actions that I would do, which is, being a nice dude. And then just going back through and just killing every single person I can find, and just to see what happens. Because it's one of those, I've done these levels so many times now, because I do it and then I'm like, oh, maybe if I just go back and try. And every time I try something new, something different happens. It's so open.
Are there multiple main characters?
There are multiple main characters from what I've been led to believe. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but from the pack I got from Devolver, they talk about the acts being broken up into different characters.
And is it sequential, or can you sort of just pick and choose which character?
No, so like I said, it is a story. Like there is
Right.
like a linear story that they're telling.
Right.
And I don't know what that is. So far it feels very world buildy, the story. It feels very much all about like why the Weird West is like this, who these immortals are, and why they're doing this thing of inhabiting other bodies. Which has only just started happening in this mission because I'm trying to sneak in and see if I can find this dude to help me out.
You're now trespassing.
I've also posseed up, so you can also hire folk if you want. You can walk into a town, you can hire somebody. If you help some people, they'll become your friend for life, who will just randomly turn up at some points and help you out.
Do you know how many people you can have in a party at once?
3. So your main character and 2 people.
That's really disappointing. I was hoping that, like the family, you could just have a whole gaggle. Just hire an entire family.
Have a whole town.
It becomes basically, it's like Snake. It's just this big long line of people just going through and just eating up the resources of each town. So it's if you've played your Dishonored's, if you've played your like Deus Exes, any of those kind of immersive sims, it's very familiar. It's the isometric view though is like quite hard to get used to.
I was gonna say it doesn't ring back to any of those games for me because it's isometric.
Yeah, so it took me a long time to get used to this point of view. I found it very restricting almost, which sounds crazy because you're seeing way more of the world than you do from a first-person view. But I don't know. I find it really hard to track enemies where they are and stuff from this point of view, and where I am and all of that
Again,
kind
what
of
do
stuff.
you mean? You can see everything.
I know, which doesn't make sense, right? But there's something about it. I just can't quite figure it out, what it is about it that I can't like, because I do the thing, you know how when people play games in TV shows and stuff, and they're playing a racing game, and they're like leaning their body, and they're like, whoa, cool, I'm playing a game.
Man, I do that in real life, yeah.
So I've never done it. I do it in this though. Like I'll be trying to see under stuff and I'll just duck my head down and be like, maybe it's what's up under these like rafters. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because I don't really play games from this perspective. I'm playing this on PC, but I'm playing with an Xbox controller, and it is infinitely more playable on a controller than it is on a keyboard and mouse because there's so many context sensitive things to do.
So how familiar are you with games in isometric in general? Like, did you play Hades?
So I played Hades. Hades is different though, right? Because Hades doesn't have a 3D camera. Hades is always from a locked perspective.
Right.
And so is Diablo like that? Or Diablo is a 360 camera?
I think Diablo's fixed.
Yeah, I think it's fixed as well.
I genuinely can't remember because I feel like I play quite a lot of isometric games and I don't feel like it bothers me whether it's fixed or not.
Yeah, it's so, and like, you know, XCOM is isometric, but it's turn-based. And that sort of makes a bit more sense. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the 3D camera kind of thing.
Maybe.
That is just kind of messing me up.
Maybe it's just too much 3D. You got a big 3D world with a lot of possibilities and a 3D camera. It's just it's a bit too much.
That's a really good point because there are points in this where you get to an area and there'll be like, you'll see it later in this when I bust this bloke out. So this is a guy who starts giving you a little bit more context on all the weird stuff that's happening out there. So he knows where your husband is, and you'll see you can. He's like, give me the information. I'll give you the info if you free me. You can just shoot it and bail, and not even worry about it. But I can't remember what I was saying now. Oh no, what was I saying?
Well, my point was that there was like too many 3D systems and too much going on.
That's right.
For it to be easy to see what's happening.
That's right. So after this, you'll see I go into a safe area to like clean out like the treasure, and there's so many interactables to look at. But because it's isometric, actually getting into the right position for your character to be able to pick them up just takes forever. It's a bit janked. Like it's just a little bit janky.
But is that like got to do with the isometric and 3D camera, or is that just this game specific?
That's a very good question. I don't know. I haven't played enough 3D isometric games with an unfixed camera where you can pick up clustered items.
It's so specific.
To really not, it's so specific. Yeah. So like this is another, like there's all of these like side quests and characters and stuff that doesn't really give you anything. Like you don't really get, like they're not like, here's 5 coins for doing that. They're just things you can do that then down the line might shake out in some way.
Whoa, wait. Sorry, is this you picking stuff up that you were talking about?
Yeah, so this is me trying to pick up all the stuff and I keep...
Okay, no, this does suck because you're trying to pick up like pinhead-sized coins on the floor individually.
Yeah, which is like, you know, Raf Colantonio loves a little stack of coins in his games. Like Dishonored's all about picking up 1 gold coin every time on a table. But like this is not the camera angle to be doing this from, I feel.
I feel like most games from this viewpoint, you just walk near it and you suck it up.
That's what it needs. It needs like that suck up kind of thing. Like for stuff like your consumables, like ammo. Man, maybe that's an option. Maybe I'll look for that. So this is where I start talking to this Sheila, and I found someone in the town who is like talking about how there's great jeweler, but every time I talk to them, they're like, get out of here. You're not cool enough for me to jewel you. Turns out I have to go and insult them, and paying $5 is going to give me like the insult to be able to have a little Western-style jewel in the middle of this town.
So how much did you enjoy the story here? Because it's a lot of reading.
So that is as well. It's all reading. There's no voiceover. There's a narrator who narrates the overall beats, and it's very much like a Western novel. Like he has a very Johnny Cash-esque voice. I love it. I love a game that does its world building really well, and this is like just dripping in world building. It doesn't give you heaps of exposition. Because when you find out that they've been taken by sirens, it never explains that. It's just you get there and they're leaving and they're like, there's like a vampire in the distance and it like flies away and that's it. And you can figure it out or you can not figure it out. It's really up to you.
It's also much more of a true RPG, isn't it? You know, you're really making those decisions and the characters are responding.
Exactly, yeah.
So is it enjoyable in that sense? Because look, I'll openly admit I'm not a huge like story game person. I have a really hard time remembering names and stuff like that. So I just never know who's talking about who, and it's just like, I'm there for the gameplay. But would you say that this has compelling enough gameplay to get you through even if you're not that into the story, or is it really hinging on that story?
It's 100%. This is a gameplay forward game. Like, this is not a game. If you want to ignore the story completely, then you absolutely can. This is much more of like, if you like that immersive storytelling, picking up notes, reading all those kinds of things, this is a great game for that. But the gameplay first is what they're focused on, and it's very, very good.
That's cool. It sounds like, I guess it feeds into what you were saying before, and they've struck a good balance in that you don't necessarily have to remember who anyone is, because you can just kill everyone and just like keep trotting on forward.
Exactly. And I wonder if that's sort of like what they were thinking, is like, there's all these gory like kill cams and stuff as well, very Fallouty. But I wonder if that is sort of what they were going for, more of like a like make your own adventure, which is why they've gone with this like druid-esque, you know, possessing character rather than an actual story. But who knows? I'm only like 5 hours in. Could be something way crazy going on here.
Does it feel like it's 30-hour thing, 100-hour thing?
That's a really good question, because I would have said when I first played Dishonored, I would have been like, this is an 8-hour game, and it turned out to take me like 120 hours to finish, and it was only like 8 levels. So I honestly have no clue what it could be. So I've killed the jeweler, and by killing the jeweler, the head of the gang is like, hey man, you should come and work for me. Thing is they're the ones who kidnapped my husband, so I don't really want to be part of the Stillwater gang. So
no, don't you join and then you figure it out from the inside?
Yeah, get in the inside.
Which is what that's what I actually thought after I was like, nah. And then it just all went to shit. So there's another part that I've sort of like glossed over that I'm only just sort of understanding now as well, is there's timed events in the world. So time passes, and certain things happen at certain times of day, and certain things happen on certain days. And there's a newspaper system that has headlines every day that talk about current events or things that have happened that you can go and help with. And some of those are timed. So I read something before that was about this town that was basically like, this gang's taken over, can anyone come help us? And I went and did this, and then you don't sit in this, but then there was another headline that was like, someone came and helped, and then some dude was like, hey, you're the guy who killed the dude in that town. Thanks heaps for that.
So it's basically Stardew watching the TV in the morning.
Yeah, kinda. A lot more murder in this. A lot more murder.
Much more violent.
It depends what you do with your chickens, I guess.
And it's just, I just like love how they like each level is sort of like the edge of a map, like it's on a tabletop or something like that. But that's it. That's me sneaking around old Weird West.
It sounds like you really enjoyed it.
I do. I love these kinds of games. I love anything that anyone who's behind Dishonored has made. This looks a lot like Dishonored. Has that kind of vibe. I would highly recommend anyone who's into open world RPGs. These kinds of things, absolutely give it a shot.
Well, awesome. That was our sweet 16 minutes of Weird West. Thanks, Dan, and thanks, Joe.
No worries.
Thank you.
What did you think? Was it weird enough for you? Was it west enough for you? Perhaps a bit too east? Let us know in the comments and check out some of the other stuff on ABC Gamer and get involved. See you next time.